Number 31 is a little tricky, but it is multiple choice, and it's probably going to be multiple choice on the final too. So there we go. But you have to pick which one of these are true, and it could be more than one. So the answer could be like all of them, A, B, C, D, or it could just be some of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at this class square. Before we do this, let's make sure we know the problems with it. So let's first identify the data fields. The data fields are the private variables. So that looks good. A square has a side to it. That's fine. Let's look at our constructor. Well, whenever we call our constructor, we have to say public and the name of the class. And as we can see, something's wrong right here. So this shouldn't say public SQU. This should say public square. So let's go ahead and maybe try to write this a little better just to kind of figure this out. Public square. Now, I'm not really sure what this does, but in here. But normally, what a constructor will do is it sets the values of the data fields. So normally, we want to say the data field name. What's that? Well, that's side. So I'm thinking this should probably say something like side equals y. That's what it really should look like, something like this. Now we have a perimeter method. So the perimeter method finds the square's area based off the object's side length. So, by the way, this object's side length. So, typically, if there's a data field in the object, it doesn't need to take in anything from the outside. It just needs to use its own private data field, which is where all the information for the square is stored. So let's go ahead and try to retype this. We've got public double perimeter. Since we don't need to take in anything from the outside, we actually leave the parentheses blank. And I want to return the side of the square. I mean the perimeter, which is 4 times the length of the side. Is that S? No, it's the data field name, which is side. So I should say something like return 4 times side. So that looks a little better. And it's important to know some of the errors in the class. So let's look at main. Square x equals new square 84. I think that actually does make sense because that's normally how we call it. And we do have a number in here because it takes in an integer. So that's okay too. Because whenever we say square x equals new square or Giroux Bob equals new Giroux, we are calling the constructor. And the constructor is always public, no return type, and the name of the class. Then we just print out the perimeter. But wait a minute. I have to print out whose perimeter am I printing? I'm actually have to print out the square's perimeter. What's the name of that square? The name of the square is x. So really, I should have put system.out.print x.perimeter and really put little parentheses right there because perimeter is a method. It's basically just this method. So these are the errors here. You don't necessarily have to do this to do the problem, but I feel like it helps. So let's see which one of these are true. A, it says the main method incorrectly tries to print the perimeter. It needs to specify which object it is finding by using dot notation saying x.perimeter. Well, that's exactly what we did, so I think that's correct. B, the constructor should not be setting s equal to y because s was never declared. I think that's true too because what are we dealing with? We're dealing with the side, not s. So I think B is also true. Let's look at C. The constructor should not have a parameter because main automatically sets the side length to 84. Well, let's look at this. So where is main? Main is here. The constructor call should not have a parameter. I think it should because the 84 should be it. The parameter, remember, means the thing in the parentheses. It should have a parameter because when we call the constructor, it takes in a parameter here. So I think that one's fine. Part D, the perimeter method does not need any parameters because it should be using the value of the field to calculate the perimeter. So remember, the field was my private data field. And that's kind of what I was saying right here, was because I'm finding this object side length, I don't need anything in the parentheses when I'm calling my perimeter method. Again, I don't need anything in the parentheses here because I don't want to take in anything from the outside. I want to use the data field to calculate my perimeter. So I believe the answers are A, B, and D.